Hi, very good morning, everyone. A very warm welcome to our session today. We'll be talking about the career track of a chief financial officer. I hope all of you can see my screen now, where you'll just see our company's logo. So, again, I know this is a Saturday morning, so thank you so much for taking out time today. And I'm sure each of you, primarily our students, and I also know some of the parents have also joined today, will definitely benefit from this session. So just a small introduction. My name is Surbhi Kumar, and I am the founder of the Dream Catchers. Now, let me tell you a little bit about our firm. So we are an education consulting firm. We are based out of Mumbai, and our mission is to assist students in realizing their dream of obtaining a quality and best fit education. So how do we do that? As you would agree, for grade 9th and 10th, the immediate need is the stream and the subject selection. And for grade 11th and 12th, it's primarily the right course and right college selection. So through our services, we provide students assistance and help to get answers to these queries. So how do we do that? We start with a psychometric assessment test, which assesses a student aptitude, their personality traits, and their interest alignment. On the basis of this psychometric assessment, a detailed career fitment report gets generated, and these reports give information around the top 10 career clusters aligned to a particular student. Now, the career fitment report is just a starting point, right? So through our individualized and personalized counseling, we work with the student to give them information around different career pathways which are best aligned to them. And if needed, a detailed action plan as well. So that's on the art services for the high school students primarily. Okay. Now we also provide assistance to students for their higher education admission needs. Our services involves profile assessment and building, country and course shortlisting, best fit college mapping, letter of recommendations and SOP guidance, which is statement of purpose, scholarship guidance, interview preparation, and visa guidance. So that was about the dream catchers. Now, let me just tell you what you can expect in the next 45 minutes to an hour. So, as mentioned earlier, we'll talk about a specific career in finance, which is the career track of a chief financial officer. So, in the first 10 to 15 minutes, I will try to give you an insight around their day-to-day roles and responsibilities, skills and competencies which are needed to thrive in this career, the subject combinations which are best suited, the supportive co-curricular and extracurricular activities. I'll also provide information around common college entry pathways, top colleges in India and across the globe, and even recruiters in India and across the globe. So primarily which kind of industry you can expect to work in. Now, keep in mind that this will not be a comprehensive information. Our goal is to just furnish you with some details. Then you can take it ahead, do your own research, or reach out further to us if you need any further assistance there. The highlight of our session today is a fireside chat with Mr. Rohitash Gupta, who is a former CFO of eClerk Services, and he comes with a stellar industry experience, and I'm sure students will really benefit from the fireside chat. We'll also try to keep aside some time for Q&A, so just keep posting your questions in the Q&A box, and depending upon the time we have, we will pick a few. Okay, with that, as I mentioned, I know it's a Saturday morning, so I just want to start with a warm-up quiz. And if you all are joining this session and inclined towards taking a corporate finance career track, I just wanted to start with something which many of the students who are interested in this field may have some idea. So it's a small quiz. So what does FP&A stands for? Financial planning and analysis, fund planning and analysis, financial planning and accounting, fund planning and adjustments. So either if you see a chat box on your Zoho screen, then you can send your response there. Or if you're not seeing by chance, then even the Q&A box is something which you can utilize. Okay. So I'll just give a few seconds and wait for the responses. Great. I've started seeing a few coming in. Come on, go ahead and put your responses. Okay. Okay. So, in the interest of time, I'll give you the right answer. It's A, financial planning and analysis. Okay. So, thank you so much for participating. Let's move on. Now, in terms of who is a CFO, so I'm just starting with a very basic definition and then we'll touch upon the other elements as well. So, this is a very important slide for those of you who are like really, really kind of inclined towards this career track. So, who is a CFO? A CFO is a senior executive of a company and is primarily responsible for managing a company's finances. I know it's a broad and a loaded statement, but we'll try to dissect into it through our conversation today. In terms of roles and responsibility, it includes financial planning and analysis, budgeting and forecasting, financial reporting, risk management, internal controls and compliance, tax compliance, legal compliance, lot of regulatory compliance, being responsible for the right capital structure and funding, financial control and audit, cost management and optimizations, and if it's a listed company, even investor relations is something which is falling on the shoulders of a CFO and his team per se, or his or her team, right? Corporate governance, and it's a leadership role, so a lot of team management and leadership responsibilities as well. In terms of skills and competencies, now just try to map these skills and competencies with the roles and responsibilities which are mentioned, right? So financial acumen, very much needed. Accounting knowledge, definitely needed. Strong numeracy skills, having a good understanding of the industry and the business you're operating in, right? For the company is operating in. It's very helpful and very important. Understanding the regulatory landscape, having good communication skills. And for those of you, I know there are some of you who have attended majority of our webinars consistently across the different careers. I cannot emphasize enough that there is no career in which good communication skills are not needed, but like careers like this, definitely it's a non-negotiable skill and you can develop it over time as well. Leadership skills, strategic thinking, being a good negotiator, having right influencing skills, having good interpersonal and relationship building skills. Okay. Now, in terms of ideal subjects to study, especially students who are in your ninth, 10th, and really thinking of what stream to take, and even 11th and 12th students as well. Again, these are ideal subjects. These are recommended. It's not something which is mandatory, but if you study these subjects during your high school year, it will form a solid foundation for a finance career track itself. So business finance, accounting, economics, and mathematics is very important. Now, in terms of extracurricular activities, try to join the investment and finance club in your school, or even like there are so many online clubs these days, mathematics clubs, economics club. Try to take finance courses online, try to attend few workshops, read financial literature and newspapers, participate in finance competitions. Again, this will familiarize you well with the finance as a career, right? So this is the time where besides your academics, you are doing some, these are primarily co-curricular and extracurricular activities for you. Okay. So let's move on. Now, again, I am putting a small quiz, and the intention with which I'm putting this quiz is because in my practice, I have realized that when we talk about psychometric assessment, especially when we ask the student to go through a psychometric assessment and then they see a report and some careers mentioned in it, it's like a moment for them where they feel that, okay, it's the definitive answer to their career choice. So I wanted to, from the audience here, I wanted to see what is your understanding. So it's a simple true or false statement. Just again, put your responses in the chat box if you see that on your Zoho screen. Otherwise, you can use Q&A box as well. Okay, psychometric assessments should not be seen as a definitive answer to career choice. Instead, they should be used as a starting point for further exploration and research. True or false? I can see few responses coming in. Again, I'll just wait for like a couple of seconds more and then I'll move on to the cream of our discussion as well. Okay, great. Okay, so majority of you, you're right. It's true. Okay, so let's move on. Now, when we talk about the role of a CFO, what kind of aptitude, personality trait, and interest type is most aligned to this career? So again, this is primarily for majority of the finance career tracks. So when we talk about aptitude or your potential, having high numerical and reasoning skills, that's very much needed. Verbal, yes, you need to be good at it. But when it comes to mechanical and spatial, it's okay if it is your low potential area. You needn't worry about it. But numerical and reasoning skills is something which you need to build the aptitude if you do not have it right now. And there are ways and mechanisms through which you can focus on it. When it comes to personality type, I'll focus on just a couple of those. In terms of emotional orientation, being resilient, being calm, being strong is very much needed, because you will have to deal with lot of pressure from lot of stakeholders, right? So if you give up too quickly, you are thin skinned, then it might not be the right career track for you. Being focused and organized would really help you go a long way. Now, when it comes to interpersonal orientation, uh, it is helpful if you are a social extrovert. Okay, it's helpful to an extent, but even if you are an ambivert, that's fine. In terms of interest type, enterprising and conventional. And now enterprising, it's not in the sense of, hey, I want to start with a new company, I want to make a new company. It's good if you have those intentions, but enterprising here primarily means being able to influence the group, being able to lead the group, right? Being energetic as well, right? So that's what enterprising interest type here denotes. When it comes to conventional, it's not conventional from a traditional sense. It's more like having that structured, organized, being interested in data oriented studies. That's what it is about. So again, the intent of this slide is just to give you some understanding of right aptitude, personality trait, and interest types. By no means it's like set in stone kind of thing. Personalities develop, interest change, aptitude also increases with time. Okay, now let's move on. Now, in terms of common entry pathways, specifically in India, or what we also call as college pathways, I wanted to give some understanding, especially to the students out here, what kind of pathways you can take, what kind of courses you can take. So let's talk about pathway one. So now in 11th and 12th, you can take any stream, but mathematics is something which you should be taking. Okay, economics is, it is advisable though not mandatory. Then you can do your bachelor's in commerce, business, economics, or finance, and then master's in these fields, or you can choose to even do your MBA in finance. The other pathway is, again, you take any stream, but definitely take mathematics, do your bachelor's in mathematics, and then do your master's in finance or MBA in finance. Okay. Engineering pathway is also an option if you are interested in studying engineering in your 11th and 12th. It's not that you cannot make your career in finance, and we will bust that myth when we really proceed with the session and talk to our guest today as well. So you can then do your BTech or BE, and then either you do your master's in finance or you do your MBA in finance. So these are like primarily college centric pathways. In terms of courses, chartered accountancy is one, cost and management accountant is one. These are India based, but there is also another one which is certified public accountant, which is provided by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, right? Again, these are multi-year long professional courses, but this will really help you make your career in the field of corporate finance and gradually moving to the CFO role. Again, there are other courses which are more investment management oriented, but still good one, like CFA, which is Chartered Financial Analyst, being offered by an organization, a US based organization. Now, after you do your college pathways and even get on this professional courses track, what you should really target doing in terms of job is try to secure an entry level job as a financial analyst within the finance department of an organization. Or like if you're doing your CA parallelly, or even CMA, right? You can try to target joining any of the big auditing firms, or even practicing CA's office as an as an audit associate, as a tax associate, or as a consulting analyst. Okay. Now, in terms of short courses as well, because many a times students really ask me, ma'am, are there any short-term courses before we decide to invest our time in these, particularly these long courses, which can give us some understanding of it as well. So this is one good course which is offered by Corporate Finance Institute. It is called the Financial Modeling and Valuation Analyst. You can really Google it and see. It's a self-paced course, and it needs 120 to 150 hours of study, and it's a very good course in terms of understanding on building understanding of financial statement analysis, financial modeling, accounting, budgeting, and forecasting. Okay, so I hope this was helpful. Moving on, I also wanted to talk about specifically for those of you who are considering study abroad options, be it at undergraduate level or at postgraduate level. So across UK, Australia, US, and Canada, there are good colleges providing you good combinations of finance majors as well as electives and minors. So I have listed a few. For example, accounting and finance, economics and finance, business finance, right? These are some courses or majors which you can pick if you're targeting colleges in the US, Canada, UK, or Australia. And there are many other courses as well. I just wanted to give a glimpse of a few. Moving on, even I also wanted to just mention what are the top colleges in India and across the globe. And this is particularly for undergraduate space if you are thinking of pursuing finance courses in your undergraduate level. So check out this course, this college, Shahid Sukhdev College of Business Studies. They have a particularly good coursework when it comes to finance, and it is taught by good faculty as well. DU has, as many of you would know, BCom honors, BA economics, right? Even Mumbai University has many good colleges which offers finance course. Now, in other regions, Ivy Leagues and highly selective, and even beyond that, there are colleges which are offering good finance courses, and even the majors and minors, which I showed you in our earlier slide as well. Closer to home, even at Singapore, like the prominent universities there, NTU and NUS, they also offer finance courses at undergraduate level. So go and check out, read about it. If you need further assistance there, we are happy to help you. Target these colleges. You should build your profile appropriately. So if you need any help there, we can offer that through our services. Okay. Moving on, I also wanted to give some understanding of, like, after you have done some basic education or taken few finance courses, where all you can target to work. So on this side, you'll see the industry segments, right? So we'll start with the first one, corporate. Like any organization, they will have their finance function. So that's where you can target to start your career and move up the ladder and become a CFO as well, right? Accounting firms, like the known ones in India, like SS Kothari, Luthra and Rutra, and the big auditing firms like PwC, Deloitte. Even investment research and brokerage firms like Crescel, Access Capital, Morningstar, asset management companies as well, SBI Mutual Fund, Vanguard, private equity and hedge funds, they also really hire people from the finance background as well, like ICICI Venture, Chatterjee Group, and so on and so forth. Even investment banking space, yes, if you have studied finance coursework in your undergraduate, postgraduate, that will really help you target these companies as well. So I hope this was helpful. So with that, we'll move to the highlight of our session today, and I'll just see if Rohitash has joined us, and then I'll change the settings. Just give me a minute. Okay, I'll stop the screen share, and so we're just waiting for Rohitash's screen to load. Rohitash, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you see me? Just allow us a minute. Rohitash, if you can turn on your video and audio, I have given the settings permitted you to speak and share your video. Okay, audience, just give us a minute and we'll see if everything is working fine. Just hold on. In the interim, I would request all of you, like for from this 15 minutes of the session, what is your one key takeaway? If you can put that in the chat and Q&A box. Till that time, let me figure out. Rohitash, can you try now?
Yeah, I can hear you and see you.
Yes, now it works.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
So,
Good to see you.
audience,
Yeah.
sorry for this technical hiccup. Many a times it happens on the fly, and we try to resolve it. But thank you for your patience, and for those of you who responded in terms of the key takeaway, thank you so much for that. It makes me realize that the first 10-12 minutes of the talk was really helpful. So now we have our guest speaker for the day. So Rohitash, I'll just start with a short intro of you so that our
Sure.
audience know to whom they are talking and how helpful the insights could be. Okay. So Rohitash was CFO of eClerk Services Limited. It was India's first listed KPO. He was a director in few of the group companies as well and was a member of the group committee of eClerk's board from 2010 to 2022. During his term as CFO, eClerks achieved 7 times revenue and 5 times employee count growth, 4 countries to 12 countries expansion, and completed 4 global acquisitions. He was the only Indian CFO to have received the Financial Express CFO award twice within 5 years. Before eClerks, he worked as a management consultant at Siemens Information Systems, which is now known as Atos. He was executive assistant to managing director of Tata Autocom Systems, and he started his career as an engineer at ABB. He's a BTech and MBA from IIT Kanpur and IIT Bombay, respectively. Thank you so much, Rohitash, for joining us today. We are very pleased to have you here.
My pleasure, Sylvie. Thank you.
Okay, so let's straight away dive into our questions for the day. And again, I'm reminding our audience here, specifically students, if you have any questions, put it in the Q&A box and I'll try to pick a few during the conversation itself. But I believe many of the questions which you have in your mind will get answered during the conversation itself. So here goes my first question to you, Rohitash. Given your initial academic background, which was outside of finance, right? What specifically sparked your interest in this field? And what steps did you take to equip yourself with the necessary knowledge and experience to establish yourself as a successful CFO? A loaded question.
Yeah, indeed. And sorry. I didn't have any academic background or even experience or even mindset to take up that role. And how things panned out was more opportunistic. That after our company got listed in 2007, late 2007, within a couple of years, the finance had at that point of time left. And by 2010, our founders and CEO, they sort of discussed with me if I would like to take up this role. And I shared with them my apprehensions. Same thing, right? No experience, no mindset, no inclination, never thought about it, right? That kind of situation was there. But they were very confident that because I was handling uh, client-facing role in data analytics
Okay.
with about 30 odd clients, and had a mindset of numbers and all the few things that you mentioned, numeracy and other things.
Mm-hmm.
So they thought that I could be fit in the future role of CFO, which may not need as much accounting knowledge,
Okay.
but more centered around business acumen and understanding, and understanding of numbers and analytics.
Okay.
And so based on their faith, I took that leap of faith myself and jumped
Nice.
into that role and was appointed CFO in August 2010. Uh, so, short answer is that I was not prepared for it before it happened. But once you jump into that role, obviously you have to do things to get running on the ground, right? And that's why, first 2 years of my stint, I would call it my training or learning phase,
Okay.
where a lot of new things had to be learned, right from some amount of, practical accounting,
Okay.
because what you learn in one MBA course is not enough.
Mm-hmm.
And then, many other aspects which you have never kind of thought or imagined, which are situations like mergers and acquisitions, investor relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Those situations you have not thought of in previous or prior non-financial roles, right?
Correct.
And then and that you gain only from experience. So first few things will go bad, right? In terms of how you interact with, let's say, investors, just to pick that example.
Okay.
But over a period of time, you will gain confidence, and a community is generally supportive, and they understand that a person is learning the ropes, and that's how things happen in first 1 or 2 years. And after that, obviously, you start adding value. You bring your own ideas and build your own team, and do what is needed to grow the company.
Got it. Got it. So it was primarily learning on the job for you. Okay, great. Good to know that. Now, because you have spent so much time in the CFO position at such a large organization, it would be helpful for our students, particularly, to know what is a typical workday like for you, or even a week as such, and what are your key roles and responsibilities when you are running the show as a CFO.
Okay. So, not that it's a established framework, I'm just coining it on the fly. So, probably the role and day-to-day activities can be better understood if you take a quarterly cycle as opposed to the month or a week or a day.
Understood.
Uh, and more so important because in a listed company, things do happen quarterly, even otherwise.
Mhm. Yeah.
But yeah, so basically you can divide the daily activity on a quarterly basis in four pillars, four P's rather. And the first two will be very typical of any managerial role: people and process.
Mhm.
And the second and the last two will be more specific to CFO role or finance role, which are more related to profit and partnering with business, basically.
Okay. Okay.
So across these four levers, you spend your time, and lo and behold, a good chunk of time gets spent in low value added activities, to be honest.
Okay.
And these are what I would call transactional activities. They are necessary evil. So, for example, just to give you an example, large payments will have to be made by CFO, right?
Okay.
uh, Not only authorized but actually made, in the sense of banking, pressing the banking button, let's say. Now this
Okay.
is a transactional activity, right? It's not a very high value added activity. What happens before you get to that stage is maybe high value, right? How you decide whom to pay, for what to pay, do the contract and all those things, those are slightly more highly value added. But a lot of transactional activities like this: approving invoices, approving payments, looking into regulatory notices,
Mhm.
even meeting investors for that matter, those are
Okay.
transactional activities. They are not really adding true value to the business.
Okay.
So good chunk of time goes in that. And as I mentioned, if you go across the four P's that I said, so a lot of time also goes in managerial activities like building team, training team, hiring, looking into attrition,
Mm.
and what new role do you need to build the financial capability in your organization, and so
Mm.
on and so forth. Similarly, when you talk about processes, the whole accounting process, how you book the entries, how you do accounts payable, how do you do accounts receivable, can you improve the cash receipt from the clients.
Mm.
So look at all the processes. Fund planning you mentioned in your initial slides. So can you improve the process around that, make them more auditable, and make them more foolproof. And we call them controls, build controls in those processes. So a lot of time goes into looking into such aspects which will make your processes foolproof, because one mistake can be very costly.
Understood.
Uh, Similarly, profit is very understood term. So you look at where you can save cost, and more importantly, where you can grow faster, which will bring more profits to the company, even if the cost remains constant per unit. And the last is business partnering, which has gained much more traction in last 5 to 7 years, and became the most important facet of the CFO role. How you support other business leaders, which may be your peers,
Mm-hmm.
to achieve their goals. So it could be
Mm-hmm.
a salesperson, for example, sales head, or
Yeah.
it could be a marketing head. It could be even a HR head. So
Mm-hmm.
how you work with them to collaborate and work around their agenda, as opposed to imposing your agenda, right? So that is the partnering aspect.
Okay, so I think you provided a very good framework and kind of easy to remember as well, especially for the students out here, because again, our goal of this conversation is to give them as much practical insights as possible, right? So they might be reading a lot of theoretical things, but what really entails, I think that the framework which you mentioned, it's really something which will help them retain it as well to an extent. So thank you for that, Rohitash. Now, my next question is, and I think it's a very pertinent question, especially because you come from a non finance background, but you made your mark in a core finance field. Okay. So now, when you look back and reflect, what do you think? What kind of educational background is really valuable for someone who wants to be in a corporate finance field and then like move up the ladder and become a CFO? Right. That's one part of my question. And my second part is, like during your high school years specifically, right, were there any specific subjects or even going beyond academics experiences which are really helping you till date to be successful in your role in your professional journey as such?
Yeah. So this question and hence the answer of it is very close to my heart. I have been associated with academia via my role at NASCOM for
Okay.
skilling related programs for the industry, and which obviously involved a lot of graduate colleges.
Okay.
Uh, so first I will start with the negative aspect and then turn a little positive towards the end.
Okay.
So there are a lot of problems with the way uh, uh, education is done everywhere, including India as well as abroad as well.
Hmm.
And I will give you one of the problems, which is least often talked about,
Okay.
which is that when you are in a job, you are handling real life problems, right? But when you are studying subject by subject, right? So
Hmm.
let me start with post graduation, let's say MBA, which may be considered most relevant for any business kind of role, and then go backwards to graduation to even high school. I will go.
Sure.
So let's talk about MBA, which is supposed to be most relevant, right? For example, for any managerial role. Now you will have professors, you will have books, you will have case studies in MBA. These subjects will be categorized as HR, business, finance and accounting, marketing, and these kinds of subjects, right? When you are in real life, there is nothing like a marketing problem. There is nothing like a HR problem. Everything is combined, right? So when you are making a HR decision, you have to look at the financial aspect of that decision, and so forth, right? So
Mhm.
problems in real life are combined, whereas case studies or the subjects which are categorized are siloed. They don't allow for interdisciplinary interaction most of the times. I'm sure some colleges may be doing that, but the courses are siloed in terms of subjects, even case studies,
Okay.
which kills creativity, which kills interdisciplinary learning that you eventually get to learn in any job, any good job. If you go backwards and go to even college level, sorry, school level, let's say, you are studying physics, chemistry, biology, maths, economics, whatnot, right? Again, in a siloed fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the kids in their childhood always have wondered, why is the sky blue, right? And kids ask those questions to parents, and parents give some answer, and eventually in eighth class or something like that, they study about that and learn in physics, so subject called physics, why sky is blue, if I'm correct, right?
Mm-hmm.
uh, the answer to that question, unfortunately, lies at the cross section of four subjects:
Okay.
physics, chemistry, maths, and biology. Now, because students learn it in a course called physics, they remember only one answer, which is something to do with refraction or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That is just quarter of the answer. That kind of applying that kind of siloed knowledge, 10 years later in a job will not take you too far.
Mm-hmm.
You have to learn how to get the full answer, how to understand all the aspects of the question and the problem statement, and then try to work through a comprehensive answer by working through interdisciplinary teams.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the negative part of it, talking about what is lacking in education, which is very different from what is required in a real world job.
So,
But
Rohit,
yeah,
I just pause you
yeah,
here before you go into the positive aspects as such. And you actually touched upon a very, very important point, which is the importance of multidisciplinary education. And I know, like right now, in India also, there are so many colleges coming up which are offering multidisciplinary education, because we realize the value of it when we move to the industry side, and people who have worked on the industry side, they are partnering with institutions and opening up these courses, because what you said is 200% right, compartmentalizing things. There is no problem like an HR problem or a marketing problem. It's a business problem which you'll have to
yes,
resolve
yeah,
for, right? So I go to an extent, like in my own thinking, when I read about what multidisciplinary education is, I could be wrong here, but my understanding of it is it's more like our traditional Gurukul form of education, right?
could be,
That's
yeah.
what it is. But yeah, adapting to the needs of the society today. But if you extend our traditional Gurukul education and we focus on that, it was a multidisciplinary education itself, right? So I just wanted to give my two
Yeah,
cents, because I couldn't really control myself when you really touched upon this important point. So
yes,
please go on.
very true, Subi. And but talking more finitely and specifically to your question, if I look back into high school and what subjects could be relevant for taking up a potentially in future finance kind of role, I would say maths and physics, and I will explain why.
Okay.
So if a student is good in both maths and physics, and likes those subjects, chances are that finance could be one of the areas they can look into 5 or 6 years hence,
Okay.
after high school. And the reason within maths also, algebra is something that you have to love. And I'm kind of going into little joke side, but in algebra you are always trying to solve for unknown x.
Yes.
And most of the business, most of the variables are unknown. X, Y, Z, everything is unknown which you are trying to solve for. So that kind of knack, later on, somewhere, hindsight helps you.
Mm.
Physics is important because laws of physics are somewhat cast in stone, uh, you know
Okay.
and they don't change. So that brings discipline in you. That brings a need or desire to adhere to laws, which is very important in a role of a CFO or any kind of senior role, that you have to do things ethically and follow the statutory norms around the role,
So
which is the role of CFO also. So I think those two subjects have some bit of relevance.
Okay,
Some
great.
level, not directly, though.
Great. I did understand that maths had a lot of relevance, but what you really mentioned around physics, at least I never thought it from that angle. So that's a very interesting perspective. And I hope, like, again, students and specifically parents, because this is what, as I said in the start, we'll try to bust some myths during the conversation, because when they are thinking of career in finance, many of the parents, they get stuck with the thought that you have to take commerce, right? And sometimes if a student is average in maths, they will drop maths as well. So it takes lot of efforts to make them understand that it's nothing like that. Even if the student likes physics and not like commerce subject specifically during your 11th and 12th, it's okay to go ahead with science stream and pursue finance careers later on. So that really helps. So thank you so much. And I hope, again, students, you are finding this helpful, and whatever doubts or misconceptions you had in your mind are getting clarified through this conversation as well. Okay, Rohitash, I'll move on next to specifically touching upon the career trajectory or career path of a CFO. So, can you throw some light on that? What kind of career advancements and growth trajectory a person can expect in the field of, again, particularly we can touch upon corporate finance itself.
Yeah. So, in corporate finance, at least in my erstwhile team, we used to hire graduates, obviously with some a little bit of experience, 1 or 2 or 3 years experience sometimes, but in all the areas. So, so right, starting from accounts payable, accounts receivable, which are more transactional processes,
Mm-hmm.
um to FP&A, which you asked the question about early on. So financial planning and analysis also, we used to take some graduates, both from graduate school as well as post grad schools, and uh, obviously core accounting functions also are done by some freshers, but generally some of them are CAs and some of them are commerce graduate with 1 or 2 years of experience.
Okay.
Uh, and a lot of analytics type of work within financial domain is also done by such relatively younger people who have little bit more bent towards tech, because analytics and playing with data nowadays is more tech rather than anything else. So
Yeah.
we used to take some of those kinds of people also,
Okay.
not necessarily software developers, but people who have that kind of bent early on.
Okay. 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 Got it. Uh, I have started to receive few questions from the audience, but let me first again proceed with few of mine, and then we'll pick from there as well. So now, touching upon again with your experience now, what do you think are the key skills and competencies which are needed to really like thrive in this profession? I won't say just sustain, but really thrive in this profession.
Uh, in many roles, and I will talk only about finance, given the topic. Understanding of kind of behavioral economics and the principles therein is very important,
Okay.
because ultimately, as a finance person, uh, you are supporting business decisions, and to the extent your decisions are biased by any factor, either your own past experiences or the way you look at data, or the way your experience has shaped in, may lead to wrong decisions for the problems that you are currently facing.
Mm-hmm.
So, a little bit of understanding of a field called behavioral economics, which I believe is taught now in some colleges, graduate level and MBA
Yes.
level also,
Yeah.
uh, is becoming much more important. And I believe in 2008, the Nobel Prize went to Daniel Kahneman, who was
Yes.
who in the field of economics, but he was actually a graduate and researcher in field of chemistry,
Yeah.
and he worked with Israeli military. So he had very diverse experience. But lo and behold, he got Nobel Prize in economics for his pioneering work that he did on behavioral economics.
Okay.
And I think all those principles somewhere are relevant in any field, especially finance, where you are supporting or taking business or financial decisions.
Makes sense. Okay. Okay, so that was helpful. Uh, Now I would move on to again some of the. This is the question which I ask majority of my guest speakers, and because again our intention is to give students the practical insight, right? So I want you to touch upon the challenges of this role and also the rewards of this role as well. So for our students, that could be a motivation as well as some practical insights too.
Yeah, so challenges for a CFO role depends on both company as well as situation or stage the company is in. So
Okay.
if you are talking about somebody who is CFO in a early stage or growth company, the
Hmm.
challenges will be very, very different, right from fundraising to how to even survive in some cases. But if you are working in very well established, long running profitable company, your challenges will be more on the keeping the ship steady, number one, and number two, how to support further growth. And basically, in other words, trying to prevent negatives, and then collectively you will support growth
Hmm.
by default.
Hmm.
So those challenges are very different compared to early stage startup kind of companies.
Okay.
Just to give one example, from my experience, M&A used to be the most stressful period, and it is not about consummating a deal. It's also what happens after you have consummated the deal and signed the dotted line, right?
Hmm.
What happens 1 or 2 years after that acquisition? That can give you sleepless nights because even one error can cause big disappointment in terms of realizing what you envisaged when you
Hmm.
were preparing for that acquisition. So that was on the challenges side. And landscape, again, one more challenge is landscape keep evolving, right? Especially in a CFO role, there are too many stakeholders, right, from regulators to tax department to to investors, to internal departments, your own team, your own people, etc. So there are too many stakeholders, and managing that sometimes can become challenge as to how to prioritize which one. And there are pressures from all quarters all the time, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But coming to the reward side, you know, um, statutorily speaking, at least in India and I'm sure elsewhere also, CFO role is considered most important after CEO. Uh, and CEO and CFO are typically default officers of the company, and so in that sense, it's a very very important role just next to CEO. The
Hmm.
CMO role or CTO role may be considered less important in the eyes of statute.
Okay.
Having said that, in today's world where tech is eating the world, probably CTO role is equally or even more important, I would say, to be honest.
Hmm.
But I was talking more from what some of the stakeholders considered this role to be important, and that itself can be very rewarding, right? It becomes public facing in a sense. So if you are, like you were talking, extrovert or ambivert, then that can give you some more fulfillment, because you end up meeting much more variety of people and organizations, be it from vendors to clients to regulators to investors. So that variety is just enormous, and that gives you more learning when you interact with such different kind of people and companies. Uh, and so first is importance, second is learning, and third is obviously remuneration, right?
Yeah.
So if it's an important role, obviously remuneration will be commensurate. So yeah.
Okay, great. I think, again, this is something hearing from you, it will resonate a lot with us, audience. I want to specifically touch upon the personality traits, right? You mentioned around ambivert and extrovert, and also what I mentioned around being like resilient, being calm, because it's a high pressure job, right? So, no risk, no reward kind of a situation as well. So, if you have that personality trait, If not, then you can develop it as well. So we are not trying to scare the students out here, but we are just trying to give you what really takes it to play that role well. Okay, so I hope it's helpful. I'll take one more question from my repository, and then I'll pick Amit's question, because he has asked one question. Again, it is something touching upon what we spoke earlier, but if they'll hear from you, or if Amit will hear from you, I think he'll get little kind of rested with his thoughts. Okay, if he's not from commerce background, still he can make it. So I'll read out his specific question in a while, but I want to touch upon the hot topic of today, which is, or this era, I would say, which is AI, right? So it's, I know across industries it is kind of enabling us to perform our job well, but especially in the student community, the question which I generally get asked, Rohitash, is like, okay, we are talking about some traditional professions, but will AI take over the job, right? So, what I want to understand from you, particularly in the field of finance and again corporate finance, do you see any kind of upside or even downside of AI per se from your own standpoint?
Yeah. So, good that I touched upon behavioral economics earlier, and I will answer it using that. Theoretically, AI can take many of the jobs, many more than what we can imagine.
Mhm.
Practically, it won't, because humans are running the ship. Even AI is being developed and used by humans, right?
Mhm.
And there is a natural bias that in childhood, I don't know which character it was, but there was an image. We were told somebody was cutting uh, the branch of a tree while sitting on the side of the branch that
Which
he was sitting on. uh, the moral of that story is that that person may have been fooled in that story, but normally people don't harm themselves. And because humans are controlling the world, right from prime ministers to business leaders and so on and so forth, they won't go against the interest of humans, being human themselves, right?
Mhm.
So chances in a practical situation that AI will end up taking much fewer jobs than what it has potential for are
Okay.
more likely.
Okay.
So that's my take on that. Sorry, was your next question how AI can help in finance? Or?
Upside of
Okay.
AI, right?
Okay. Yeah, so it is helping in a lot of fields. Uh, Generative AI, especially which we are hearing now, is has a wider applicability.
Mhm.
It can, at a very low level, it can short circuit the answers that you are seeking, for which you hire a lot of consultants, right? In especially in finance function, you tend to work with a lot of consultants, auditors, etc. It
Okay.
can short circuit some of that, but that's at the transactional level, right?
Okay. Okay.
At a more business decision kind of level also, or business process level also, AI is helping, because for example, I was mentioning how you can reduce your days sales outstanding, the time
Mhm.
that clients take to pay you for your services or products. And there, AI is helping a lot of companies, including my ex company, in terms of finding when to raise the invoice, automating certain processes, and also accounting it more quickly.
Mhm.
AI in general, not generative AI for that part.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, so certain processes can be improved and metrics can be improved by using AI and automation, number one. And generative AI specifically can help you answer some of the business questions much more coherently than what a person sitting with various Excel models or database models can answer without
Okay.
using generative AI,
Okay.
because it gives answers in much more natural language than
Mhm.
what a typical numbers guy would be attuned to
Okay.
talk to a business leader or a business peer
So
in that
easy to
environment.
understand. That's how
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. Hmm. Okay.
So
And
lot of BI dashboards, etc., can be short-circuited, and
Mhm.
you can directly ask a question just like you ask Alexa some things. you can ask questions to your generative AI application and get your answers, which marketing campaign is going to give better ROI and things like that. And obviously below that, there will be enterprise data that would have already kind of churned the answers for you.
Got it. Yeah. I think that's very helpful. Okay, so Rohitash, let me pick the question from Amit Jain. Will non-commerce, non-CA students be at a disadvantage in terms of pursuing a career track to move towards becoming a CFO? Your take.
Uh, Non-finance, non-CA, right? That's
Non-commerce, non-CA students be at a disadvantage.
so that's me, right? Isn't it? So I will obviously give a biased answer. No, it doesn't put you at disadvantage. But talking, more generically, because one situation does not guarantee that will repeat. So generally speaking, uh, being in certain business function, whether you are in operations or marketing or sales, these three tracks have better chances of you to migrate into CFO role,
Okay.
uh, as opposed to, for example, CTO role. Uh, so
Okay.
yeah, if you are looking for non-finance organizations, if you are in a CEO org or even CMO org, uh, there is a definite possibility that you may have a chance, subject to skills, opportunity, and all those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, to get into a CFO department and eventually grow up there. Uh, the common track of being a chartered accountant, which leads to eventually at some point for some people into CFO role, uh, that myth is kind of getting busted for sure. Although that still remains the most prevalent course. That if you look at NSE 500 companies, chances are, and I don't have data, but chances are that 70% of them will be CFO, CAs. Sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. So I hope, Amit, that helps answer your question. So I know, Rohitash, we are drawing towards the close of the session. So I'll just pick one question and then another small question as well. So just two questions. And again, from audience, I do see a couple of other questions, but I feel if you, and I'll share the recording as well, if Ahana, if you listen to the recording later on, your question will get answered as well. So in the interest of time, I'll not pick your question, but I'm pretty sure that it will get answered if you missed the session, say first 10 to 25 minutes of the session. Okay, so I'll take the final question as such, which is again in terms of majority of our audience here is high school students, Rohitash, right? So what advice would you give to them if they want to again make a career in the field of corporate finance? What are your words there?
Yeah. So I would put it other way around, that just like I said, if you like or love maths, for example, uh, then chances are that you can keep finance track as one of the options later on. If you don't need to push yourself into the wrong track, right? By trying to do something artificial or something extra.
Hmm.
uh, because you have to go with your natural skills first, at least in early part of your career. If you are a creative person, then chances are in design or arts you may do better, right? Why
Hmm.
push yourself into finance?
True.
Uh, so look towards your natural instincts first, which subjects you like, and like Surbi, you mentioned, some bit of psychometric analysis can also guide them in
Hmm.
that process. And then you define which kind of track will be more useful. Uh, but if you love numbers, I think that's the first test, though not necessary, but though not sufficient. But yeah, it's an important test to pass uh,
Okay.
in order to choose that career later on.
Okay, okay. That's very helpful. And with that, I'll pause on my core questions for you, but I think it will be helpful for our audience to even see the other side of Rohitash. The way I put it, maybe the fun side of Rohitash. So I'll ask you couple of rapid fire questions, Rohitash. So maybe whatever thought come in your mind as a first thing, please speak that out. Okay. So shall I go ahead? Ready
Yeah.
for it? Okay. So if not a CFO, what would you have been?
I would have been heading a small creative firm or advertising firm.
Okay, nice, interesting. Okay, if one superpower could be given to you, what you would really ask for?
That's a very Miss World pageant type question, I guess. uh, One superpower. Actually, I don't see superhero movies, so I don't know what is the kind of menu list. Um, but ability to see into future will be a good. If that's one of the superpowers, that will be very very useful.
Amazing. Okay, okay. One favorite book and one. I know you might be reading many, but one.
Yeah, thinking fast and slow.
Oh,
Daniel
nice. Okay.
Kahneman. Yeah,
Oh,
it's a
nice.
Bible.
Yeah, yeah. It's a very nice book. One favorite quote.
I don't know who said it. Probably Maynard Keynes said it. In long term, we all will be dead.
Okay, okay. So we should live our life thinking that ways. Okay, fine. So with that, we would end the session today. So thank you so much, Rohitash. It was really, really helpful. Definitely for me, and I'm sure for all our attendees here, specifically students, and even some of the parents are also there. So thank you once again for giving your time today, and thank you to all our students as well who joined, and even parents. I hope it was helpful. And again, on screen, you can see our phone number as well as email ID, and we are all there on all social media channels. So, if in any way any of our service can help you realize your career dream, we would be happy to help you. So, thank you so much, everyone. Have a good rest of the week.
Thank you, Survi, and thank you to all your audience as well. All the best. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.